Good morning. This is section 5.1, and today we're going to talk about solving inequalities, graphing solutions, and interval notation. So let's start off with our first example. If I'm going to solve an inequality, I am always going to do it exactly like I solve an equation unless I divide my variable by a negative. In that case, my inequality is going to switch. Now, if we look at this first example, to get my variable x alone, the first thing I need to do is get rid of the negative 4. So to get rid of that, I'm going to add 4 to both sides, and I end up with 69. Now to get x alone, I need to divide both sides by 3. Now x is finally alone, and it is less than or equal to 23. Notice that this 3 next to the x was not negative, so I divided by a positive. My inequality did not change. Now to graph that value, I would like you to show me on a number line 0 and the value. Here we're at 23. Those are the two pieces I always need to see, 0 and the value you're graphing. So since it is equal to it, we need to denote that with a closed circle. If we didn't have this line of equality under here, we would denote that with an open circle. Open is not equal to that value, but when we close it in, it is. Now I want everything less than this value. So I am going to shade off to the left. Everything that is less than that, all the way down to negative infinity. So if I write that in interval notation, my graph starts all the way down here at negative infinity. And I begin that with a parenthesis. And it goes all the way up to 23. Since I'm equal to that value, I'm going to close it with a bracket, which shows equality. Remember that open circles match with parentheses, or not equal to, and closed circles match with brackets, or equal to. All right, let's try this in a real-world situation. We have an airplane flying at 34,000 feet, and it's descending at a rate of 2,500 feet per minute. After how many minutes will the plane be below 20,000 feet? In my inequality, I'm going to start off with 34,000. I'm descending, so I'm going to subtract from that this 2,500 feet per minute, or per x. And I don't care if you use x or m in this case. And we want to know when that value is below or less than 20,000 feet. Here, do I have equality? Is it equal to it? No, it's just less than that, or below that value. Now to solve for x, I am going to first need to move the 34,000. I subtract it on both sides. And I end up with my negative 2,500x is less than a negative 14,000. Now be careful at this point. Notice that the value connected to your variable is negative. So something's going to happen. When I divide both sides by a negative 2,500, this inequality is going to switch. Now I have x is greater than, a negative divided by a negative becomes a positive, and I have 5.6 minutes. That means that after 5.6 minutes, my plane will be below 20,000 feet. As a graph, if I had asked you to graph it, you would show me 0 and 5.6. You would graph it with an open circle, as it is not equal to it. And then you are going to shade to the right, because you want everything greater than this value. It's when x is greater than 5.6 that your plane is below. Now, if I had written that as an interval notation, my graph begins at 5.6. It's not equal to it, so I use a parenthesis. And it goes all the way out here to a positive infinity. And since we can't equal infinity, notice that the symbol by infinity in an interval is always a parenthesis. All right, let's graph x is less than 3 or x is greater than or equal to pi. So I'm going to go ahead and erase what I have here and move my examples up. On my graph, I want to see 0, I want to see 3, and I want to see pi. Please notice that pi is 3.14, so it's right there next to 3. And if I say either or, when I say that I mean one or the other is true. Remember that your and statement is the intersection, or what is true for both. So if I look at this or statement, I have x is less than 3. It's not equal to it. Open circle. Less than means I shade to the left. Greater than or equal to pi means it is equal to it, so a closed circle. And greater than, so I shade to the right. Now that is my graph of the situation. If I had asked you to write it in interval notation, you would have started off at negative infinity, gone all the way to 3. It's not equal to it, close it with a parenthesis. And this graph would have started at pi. It's equal to it, so we use a bracket, and gone all the way out to positive infinity. And since those two things aren't connected, we would need to union them. Remember that or is a union statement and is an intersection.